Right now we'll stop. I will stop.
Just stop him before he starts talking about coffee.
That'll never happen. Okay, we're going further into Rav Tzadok. I hope you have the paper. They seem to be evaporating day by day. Let me remind you that what we learned about on Thursday was the difference between Hillel and Shammai, where we find in the Medrash that Hillel was very makbid to take care of his guf. It's like a health gemara, so we have a good segue into. He's very makbid to take care of his guf. He would be makbid to eat breakfast. He was makbid to be roichetz every day, which presumably, especially in his times, there was with lack of hot water and the lack of everything, like bacteria would be much more prominent. So there was a bigger Indian need of being roichetz every day and cleanliness. So Pashat Pshat is that you learned that Hillel was he was makbid on his health. So he was old when this all happened, in his 80s for sure, 80s or 90s when this happened. So he didn't decide he didn't decide, okay, I'm too old to do this. But the Medrash says a different knach. It's not so much that he was a healthy guy, but the pshat is that he would say to his talmidim that it's time for me to do something for that achsanya of mine, meaning that here's my neshama, and the guf is the achsanya for the neshama. And the guf being the achsanya for the neshama requires some respect. It requires some maintenance, and it's worthwhile maintenance in order for it to be mechol the neshama. Like if a person is just goof, strictly goof, you become like this athlete. So it doesn't necessarily, I don't know what that is. But if you understand that your neshama is in your goof, and the goof is being made, so now that keli has to be polished. It has to be work well and be efficient. So Hillel according to Rav Tzadok, in a brilliant Lashitas, Rav Tzadok goes, is b'chlal the whole derech of Hillel. The whole derech of Hillel has nothing to do with health. The whole derech of Hillel has to do with we find him more tolerant, we find him more makel, we find him more friendly, maybe. Those words find Hillel. So what it is, and using my words, is not more tolerant, more friendly, more down to earth, meaning more understanding, a deeper insight into the fact that the Gashmis and the Ruchnis are not two different separate worlds, and therefore all the psukim of Hillel have less gedarim. A geder, like Shammai, has a lot of gedarim, a lot of chumrah. A geder is something which keeps you away from something, keeps you away from Gashmis. It's not inclusive. Whereas the derech of Hillel was to be more inclusive and to combine and to homogenize the Gashmius with the Ruchnius in your life, where you don't have two lives. You're not leading a double life. So this not double life. Like right now, I'm in the spa. Later, I'm in the Beis Medrash. Right now, I'm eating breakfast. Now, I'm learning. I'm davening. It's all one big integrated thing. This is the Madrega of Hillel. That's why he was more earthy, if you will, more not just down to earth, but more earthy and taking care of his guf. And this is the whole derech of Hillel, and that's why, says Reb Tzadok, this is the Lashitas of Hillel, that he wasn't even doing what Shammai did, such a beautiful thing that he did. It was a beautiful thing. It's actually a part of the Gemara I find people remember and do, and that they buy something, they say this is for Shabbos. They find something matzah dog, no mimenu. You find a nicer fish, okay, put that, eat that one, and now this one is for Shabbos. It's beautiful, like everything is for Shabbos. Hillel midah acheres haisabah. Hillel didn't do that. Hillel found a fish and he ate the fish. It's gewalt, like it's a whole new idea of why am I. I remember years ago, the yeshiva, there was these discussions, but I remember at the breakfast table, so these they happened to be like, they were like older bachrim in my table, meaning I was 16, they were 30, and it was always, I remember those breakfast tables, one of went upstairs to the base management. But I remember like a discussion, somebody was talking about like, why do we eat? Like, what's the purpose of eating? So somebody said, eat in order to have koach to daven and learn. Eat to be, other was like more Kabbalistic, eat to be malad and the tzaitzis and the food. But I remember the third guy, I was a listener, I heard the third guy say, I eat lishma. Because I eat, that's all, it's not a, so, to me it was a joke, just I eat l'shem achila, it doesn't have to have, but the truth of the matter is, what he was saying, knowing the guy probably meaning, was a very, very deep thing, that the eating mitzad, there's no dichotomy between gashmius and ruchnius, where one has to eat in order to, because once you do something in order to, it's already shalai l'shma. It's like a mitzvah. I do a mitzvah in order to become holy. That's already shalai l'shma. As soon as you add that piece to it, I'm doing this in order to, that means you're not doing it for the bais itself. The bais itself of achila could be a bais mitzvah. So comes Hillel and he says, midah cheres. I suppose a different Chazal understood different type of a person. Midah cheres, I suppose, a different type of a person than Shabbat. And what on him you could say yom yamaslanu, that every day was a mitzvah. Why should I save the fish for Shabbos? Shabbos is Shabbos. So the Zohar says Reb Tzadok, that you find that Tzadikim with Lashon Zohar, the first line in the paragraph on 53, L'chein isa b'Zohar ki tzadik hu madrega Shabbos. Tzaddik is a madrega Shabbos. What Shabbos? Something such a, just since we learned this, by the way, this past Shabbos, I enjoyed this kavanah so much, that tzaddik hu madrega Shabbos. I don't know about the tzaddik part, but the Shabbos part I can get. And that is that Shabbos is a time of karasa Shabbos oile, where the gashmius becomes ruchnius, and the ruchnius becomes gashmius. It's just an amazing time. All of a sudden you're enjoying kugel and sleeping, and all the company and talking, and that's a bechina of tzaddik, ironically. It's forcing you to engage. You're tzaddik yisoid olam, Yosef HaTzaddik. Tzaddik yisoid olam means that it's integrating with the world.
It's also the derech of the melech. It's the same thing. You cannot combine ruchnius with gashmius.
What melech? What do you mean?
Every melech. I mean, you have the covet of the melech.
What are you referring to? You mean just in general?
No, I'm talking about
Malchus.
Malchus.
So Yisoid is even before Malchus. So a Gaval Deher. Then he says something which I went by quickly, and then I understood that no, nothing's quick. He says here, down a few lines down, he says, Ein kan makom. This is not the right chapter in my book here. Lahazber bir darkoi k'fi madrigasei v'mir Hashem yisbarach makom acher. I will explain Hillel and Shammai in greater depth at a different place. But v'zeu kibul schar. This is the kibul schar, the special schar that you get l'misha higia lamadregas drush. Pshat remez drush soid. We're all looking for soid. But the drush is actually a special Kabbalist schar, because those are connected the arba levels. Pshat remez drush soid atzilus bria yitzira asi. Pshita, yeah? Soid is atzilus, you're out of this world, and asiya is in this world, pshat. And drush, what's drush? Interesting. Pardes, pshat remez drush soid. Pshat remez drush soid, pardes. So what is this remez and drush? It's particularly drush. Drush is the koyach ha'adam, what we're doing in order to infuse. Drush is where soid and pshat are tied together. Remember the lashon of the Tomer Devorah, that be'achilase kosher es hashchina la'achilase. Achila is down here. Shechina is over here. Kosher hashchina im achilase is I'm making a connection, I'm tying the two of them together. The idea of drush, this is so important here. gets a special kind of a schar. Why? Shekol Yamav Shabbos with Drush, every day is Shabbos. Shehu ma'ayon sheyesh loy brecha, u'mayon she'enoi poisek b'drachim u'gvulim. Al Kedisa Barazal, Al Pi Noach Ish Tzadik Loshen Naicha, Meforish Gan came because of Loshen Zeh Yinachamenu. By Noach, when Lamech named Noach, he said, his father, Naama, when they named him Noach, they said, Zeh Yinachamenu. This will give us comfort. It means all those generations, 10 generations from Adam till Noach. So they weren't very comforting generations. Machalel, they were Yehuya. They were not comforting because what they were doing is they were making the split between Gashmias and Ruchnias. Taking something for yourself. Once you take something for yourself, Elul Mavado, what are you taking for yourself? Whereas Noach Isha Adama, Noach was working the first thing he did when he came out of the Teva was planted. Noach Ish Tzadik, because he was a Tzadik. So there was this connection again. It means very simply, I'm putting it very clearly, that the world is worthwhile again. What's the purpose of the world? If I need malachim, so I'll make malachim, Hashem says. If I want a world, that's to be Makadish the world. And the people were not being Makadish the world. You need a tzaddik to be Makadish the world. Tzaddik Yisoid Olam. So Noach Ish Adama, it all goes together as one thing. He was being Makadish the world. Zeh Yinachamenu. This will help us. It's not like Adam or Cain or any of the people before them were Boina Ayorais, but they were doing it all for themselves. Adam's chet was he took it for himself. Geneva, we learned. Koidem Abracha. It's Geneva. So, but here he gives a wonderful Dugma Shabbos Shnikar Yoim Anachamas. Dugma Shabbos Shnikar Yoim Hamanoyach. You understand, like the connection between Menucha Shabbos, Noch, and Nechamas Shabbos Yoim Hamanoyach. It's all one thing because the Menucha creates a Nechama. Nun Ches. The Menucha creates a Nechama. And here's his mashal. I just want to dwell on this for a few minutes. You see it? Ki kamoi mayim mechunasim. Kishoim dim zman ra miskalkalim. People don't notice. Water spoils. Water becomes stagnant. It starts to become putrid after a while. It starts to develop algae and all kinds of germs and things. You got to be careful with water. Mashenki b'mayan, if something is a running stream or a spring, shenoveya b'chol eis tipos chadashos, and there's always new water inside of that. Ein b'skalka lo'elam will never go bad. So here's our imagery. Here we have a mayan, fresh, refresh, and a brecha. You need chlorine. Brecha needs chlorine because it's stagnant. It's there. You have a fish. If you have a fish tank at home, right? You got to keep that water moving, otherwise the fish die. So you need a. So what is? So here's the deep thing about it. That, anything ein chadash tachas hashemesh. It's the bria. Things get old. Everything gets old. There's nothing that lasts forever. Everything goes bad. Everything gets sour. Everything gets rotten. Everything gets moldy. Even people die. Everything goes bad because it's all b'chinas brecha. That if something stands long enough, I mean, just think about this deeply. I don't know if we've ever thought about it. Why does standing long enough? What are you doing? You're not doing anything to the milk. Why is it getting sour? Just standing there. If, by the way, if you're working all the time, here's the cheese. It doesn't go bad. It becomes a good thing. But why does something go bad? The answer is because that's life. Ein chodesh tachas hashemesh. Just like the milk goes sour, so does our ideas and our lifestyle and our opinions and our enthusiasm towards work and towards life and towards which is not. This is Shlomo HaMelech said. He got old. Ein chodesh tachas hashemesh hakol hevel. It's all everything's by him old. I mean, what are you going to do? You know, you get a new car, it's all exciting. A couple of years later, when do I get my next car? And how do I make it better? And you get your house, so you get another house. So anything in Gashmias. Now this becomes a problem because relatively easy. You can get a new car or a new house or upgrade it or redecorate it. But let's say, what do you do with your wife, for instance?
It's redecorate.
Right?
It's redecorate.
Time for an upgrade. Put her out to pasture. What's the? I mean, isn't this supposed to be la'olam? Is it supposed to get old? Is it supposed to get tired? You know, by the way, excuse me for being blunt, but if you'll read, which I do, most of the material in the non-Jewish world that has to do with shalom bayis has to do with the fact that when you reach sort of this kind of middle-aged place, all the excitement is gone. Like, there's nothing new here. No, and it's not like a 21-year-old yeshiva bacher. Like nothing's
Middle-age
here.
crisis.
Right. So what happens? Okay, the male looks elsewhere for chiddush. All kinds of issues, all kinds of problems. Ad kedei kach that that the even this subconscious, one of the subconscious mechanisms of arguing and fighting is to create a richuk in order to get a new kiruv. Ad kedei kach. This is the guy chachma b'ummos. By Jews, there should never be this issue. First of all, you see the Chazal say that that one of the few things they give a tam for the whole Indian of a mikvah is that after the whole process of Shiva Nekiyim, kichasan v'kalash nichnasim l'chutbah. So the Chazal are always bringing in the newness of something, because without newness, in other words, you want to take a breicha and you want to turn it into a mayan. Mayan hamiskaber, as Rabbi Yochanan Zakai said about his Talmud, is mayan hamiskaber, constantly new. We already said a few lines earlier. Zehu madregas drush. When Torah, even if you know a lot of it, also can become old. If you're very smart, you know a lot of Torah. Blah, 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 blah. Tefillah, how beautiful it is. Like, to be honest, most of us, for most of the time, are just saying the words. It's old. It's a wonderful thing to watch. Like somebody like becoming a Baal Tshuva daven for the first time. We've done this. Baruch Aleinu. Whoa, this is wild. Oh yeah. How many times can we say it? But if there's a chidush shabai, so then, and this is what halacha says by davening, that you can daven levaishi spal kol adam kol hayom kulon. You can daven all day long al pi halacha, as long as you're b'chadesh davar b'tfilas. So what the whole chap here is to make it from a brecha to a ma'ayan, and here's the key. The key is how do you do this? How do you make it that the milk doesn't become sour and the gashmis that help? So people get fall into deep depressions, midlife crisis, old age depression. All this should never happen. It should never happen to a person. This is the most practical part of being a good Jew, proper Ruchnius Jew. What do you mean midlife crisis? I'm sick of everything. I've got the best car. I've got the best. I've got the trophy wife. I've got the nice house. I belong to the country club. What am I supposed to do now? Crisis. There's no place to go. You're in a cage. Like, where are you going to go? The answer is, he's right. Ein chodesh tachas hashemesh. However, says the Chazal, l'mala min hashemesh. You have the ability to go l'mala min hashemesh. You can go outside of Teva, and outside of Teva, everything's chadash. Nothing is old. Nothing gets old. Nothing gets spoiled. The milk lasts forever in heaven.
How do we go Maltema?
So this is where we have the instruction book for it. The whole Torah is to take you l'mala min hateva. So ein chodesh tachas Hashem. You can look at a pasuk and you can read the pasuk. It gets old. If you say drush in the pasuk, if you're machadish in the pasuk, it's in the pasuk. Madregas drush. The secret, it's just so practical and profound at the same time, so deep and so simple, that the whole idea of taking your gashmias and constantly taking it from becoming stagnant in a brecha to becoming a mayan and always having tipim chadashim is by taking something from which is lamala min hashemesh and injecting it, or the correct modern word is infusing the gashmias with ruchnias. Infusing it. It's infusing is a good word these days.
So it's Tzadikim with Teva? Tzadikim with
Why do you say that?
Because they're taking the psukim literally. They were not taking it literally.
There's nowhere, not going anywhere with it.
Right.
So,
Kim Chazal with the Dosh.
Yep. Yep. Everybody who's sick of Yiddishkeit is sick of it because they let it become stagnant. I believe the probably the most obvious secret to chinuch habanim is to always new, always exciting. Something, there's a chiddush here. Whether it's a chiddush in Divrei Torah, or whether it's a chiddush in a mitzvah, let's brainstorm, think, how can we do it differently this year? What can we do to make a lulav more meaningful? What can we do to do our Hanukkah candles different? What can we do to make Shabbos more gishmak? As soon as it becomes old, it gets tachas hashemesh, which they always want to do is lamala min hashemesh. This lamala min hashemesh, infusing that which is lamata min hashemesh. I just look at the new trend in is not to drink, just giving a mushal, is not to drink orange juice or apple juice, or as Osam says, shtei tapri kulo. It actually might not even be so good for you in great amounts. But the trend is to infuse water with those vitamins. So what happens is the water gets stagnant. If you put a piece of lemon in it or a piece of orange, you're machadish the whole thing. Just let it infuse. That's a like everything else, we always go to an extreme. There's an edelkeit over here. This process of infusion is the Hillel process, a new scientific theorem. The Hillel process. And the Hillel process is that I can take that which is lamala min hashemesh, which is yesh chadash lamala min hashemesh, and I can infuse it into this world where normally would say, ein chadash tachas hashemesh, a stagnating of water, and I can infuse it with ruchnias. So by infusing something with ruchnias, you've made it last forever. So what's the obvious example? The goof. The goof is going to get old and tired and die. But if the goof is holding a neshama in it, so all of a sudden, what I have is eternal. Nothing gets old here.
Another example, Ad Kedei Kach, that Rav Kook mentions that in a sukkah, because it's a diras arai, it is so arai that every moment is a brand new sukkah.
Gewaldig.
But so it's taking the ruchnius aspect of the schach and creating a new metzias that's happening every moment.
Right, and that's mamish the case. But isn't this what Chazal say? The pasuk says, "Chadashim livkarim emunasecha." Like it can be chadash every single time you daven. By the way, I mean, I wish for you that there was like some great tzaddik sitting here that can tell you exactly like what this feels like. I don't know, but what I can tell you is that we're talking about a minute or two of hisbonenus, koydem tefillah or koydem mitzvah, a minute or two. This is something that I feel like the Baal Shem Tov like stressed and emphasized and brought into this world with the L'Shem Yichuds and everything. But it's just a concept that in a moment or two you can make a mitzvah so not just meaningful. What does that mean? You can make it mamish like something exciting and new. This is davening can be a chidush. I always mention that the practice that I received from my Rabbeim is by Birchas HaShachar. If you can just come up with, if you could just stop and think for a second, nobody has to know this, you don't have to shuckle, nothing. You can do it while you're walking to shul. But by Birchas HaShachar, if you could just come up with 3 great new things that happened yesterday. Now, it's a very difficult exercise because you can't repeat. too often, and you can't just grab cliche things, but to really be misponing for a minute as to wow, look what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for me yesterday, and give Haidah. Give Haidah. Isn't that the real Birchas HaShachar? Right? Every single day, the same thing. Pokeach Yifrin. Same thing. I'm Tzaddik Gover. But if you could actually do this, not just your moment changes, or your davening changes, your whole life changes. It's like a whole different perspective on life. Well, what's going on over here? You're being machadish. There's chiddush here. The movements in Judaism, the conservative reform movements that pushed away a lot of the traditional practices is because they were bored of it. Like, what's the point of this? Like, it's bored of it, and that's because they don't do it correctly. Because if you do it correctly, you could have such eternity in the same thing that my grandfather did and my great grandfather did. Like, it's such a beautiful chiddush. It's if you're in Eretz Yisrael, I mean, the whole life here is a hischatshus of what our grandparents did. It's like a new application, if you will. Same thing, Baruch Hashem, still keeping Shabbos, still kosher, doing everything with more chumras even. But that's not the issue, that we could be more machmer. It's just like hischatshus. And what's the teichacha? What is the klalish of a Mishnah Torah? V'noishantam ba'aretz. So once something becomes yashan, that means that, right? V'noishantam ba'aretz means that now you've just created a split between the lamala min hashemesh and the tachas hashemesh. It's no good. There has to be a constant flow. This constant flow, Reb Tzadok says many times, is Torah Shabbal Peh. Torah Shabbal Peh, the conversation's alive. Torah Shabbal Peh is drush. It's another examination, another analysis. It's deeper. It's gishmak. That's the gishmak of it. A chiddush is gishmak. So like, we need to be machadish. So this is the imagery is wonderful. Pool, spring. Pool, fountain of youth. Right? So it's always new. Ki kamay mayim mechunasim k'sha'omdim zman rav miskalkulin. Masha'ekin b'mayan shenoivea b'choles tipos chadashes ein miskalkel la'olam. The chiddush makes it that it's not mitkalkel. V'chein kol ha'maisim shetachas hashemesh yesh lahem gvul. So what we're doing, Shammai is Tachas HaShemesh. But it's not as integrated as Hillel, not knocking Shammai. I'm just saying, why are we paskin like Shammai? That he wasn't connecting it enough for our purposes to the world large, so people were getting tired of it. What did Hillel say when he came? That he came and he knew what nobody else knew. Remember the Gemara Yavamas? That he came and they didn't know whether to bring a korban pesach on Shabbos, not to bring a korban pesach on Shabbos. He says, "Miklal shaloi shimashtem mishmayev avtalyu." You didn't do enough shimush tachlis. In other words, when you have the string, you've cut the string. You're not, With me, there's a isarusa de lasata here. That I can figure it out. We can work it through until we connect with that string up on top, and then there's a hischatshus. It was all about chiddush. Hillel was all about chiddush.
Except we're showing with the Indian of Shabbos. I mean, Shammai was always trying to find something better. So isn't that chiddush?
But he wasn't bringing Shabbos into the week. I need to make Monday better. I don't need to keep on emphasizing Shabbos. Tzaddik b'bchinas Shabbos. Tzaddik, no efish tzaddik, Seudah. Midasai Yisoid. V'chein kol ha'maisim shetachas hashemesh. You don't have to stop, says Reb Tzadok, at water. Yesh lahem gvul shem adayim b'chidusha v'nisyashna k'sha'avar ha'gvul. Everything that's created in this world has a gvul. Miskalkel k'sha'avar ha'gvul, and when that gvul is over, right, the expiration date is reached, k'sha'avar ha'gvul, miskalkel ad sha'adam katzbai, until you're sick of it. This is what I'm telling you. This is the Shalom Bais therapy of the world. That katzbai. I no longer have pleasure. Imloi kishu madregas mayan. You have to keep it into a mayan. You see, what's the the ideal of a Jewish marriage is that you can reassess on a regular basis what the nature of this relationship is. So, if you look at two 90-year-old, he's 91, she's 90, if you look, it's not the same relationship as when they were kids, jumping around in the fields. It's a, so that's like rabbits or there's something that was reassessed. Not looking for what was 50 years ago, because what was 50 years ago, that spark is nisyashin, that's the brecha. The chidush is, let's reassess it. Where are we now? It doesn't mean necessarily have to even talk about it. Whatever, but whatever works. But what the idea of to be mischadish and to be able to accept, this is we're in a new place. This is a new place. It's good. It's a good thing. You're not chutzpah. Achadam chutzpah. Im loikishu madregas mayan. Everything in the world will become tired unless you're mayan. So it has. You're taking finite and making it infinite. Sheish b'choleis tipa chadasha. Zayin miskalkel. L'chein kol tanugei adam b'olam hazeh. Every single tiny you could have in the world, l'soif chutzbahem le'ezik nasei. I went to visit this guy in the hospital years ago, and I said, "How are you feeling?" He says, "I wish I wanted lox and cream cheese like I did a couple of years ago." Okay. I was feeling like, I wish I'd be putter from wanting lox and cream cheese. Is this my whole life? But he was being magdir that he was maybe a good guy, but he was being magdir that if I don't have that appetite for the things that I enjoy, lama li chaim. Lama li chaim. Mashakasav b'kayheles u'b'shilei Shabbos. So a very deep insight as to why everything that's tachas hashemesh, the bria will become tired. You know why you pull a plant out of the earth, why it dies? Because it doesn't have any new nourishment. Avodas Hashem, always knew Avodas Hashem, mashkasu b'shilei brachas. So beautiful, as Tzadok brings a Gemara for everything. Samach Gimel Amud Beis of Erevin Nadalad Amud Beis, but Limud Torah. Limud Torah always have to be Mechadish. B'Vayikra Rabbah, B'Kriya Shema. Kriya Shema, Shaloi Tehei, Partugma Yeshena. Partugma is a prototype in Greek, Latin, Aramaic, but protugma, stop using the old program. It's but by the way, he's quoting here Yerushalmi Paratesta Brachas. There it's talking about the Shitas HaYerushalmi is agav that we make an ufruf the Shabbos Chatan. We make the ufruf the Shabbos before the Chasana. By the Sfardim they make the ufruf the Shabbos after the Chasana. So the what's this call up altogether? What's it all? You get an aliyah? Okay, why is it a big deal? The answer is that there's it's celebrating the chidush. It's celebrating the chidush of a new life that's going on here. And the das of the Bavli, it seems to be the minhag of the Bavli, is that they did this. The celebration began the Shabbos before the Chasana, and according to the Yerushalmi, the celebration began the Shabbos afterwards. This is a whole new Shabbos like we've never had before. It's not so pashut that's what it is by your ufraf. Maybe you wear a talus or something. But this is, we have a whole. This is a whole different boi challah. It's a whole different Shabbos than I've ever had before, and it shouldn't be lashon of the Yerushalmi kipartaguma yeshena. It shouldn't be yesterday Shabbos. If you're doing yesterday Shabbos, then don't make the party. Save money on the caterer. The party is the chiddush Shabbat, and now this chiddush that one does like the Shabbos after the Chasana, so that sets a standard for every Shabbos in their life, which is why we do this, because every haskalah sets a standard for everything that's going to follow. So that's why every haskala, like a new wedding, new mitzvah, new bal tshuva, it all sets a standard for everything afterwards to be chadash. So, if you're zocha to a bar mitzvah bacher, the whole thing is the chiddush. It's the chiddush shabbai. See, like, like, why don't we? We're learning in the morning, like hilchos chinuch a little bit. So why don't we put tefillin on the kid when he's 8, 9? Lama lo, it's tzitzis on him. Einu yedei lishmar. Is that true? I mean, a 10-year-old you can find. It's not, Chazal weren't mashayir that at 13 years old they know how to take care of the tefillin that much better than when they're 10. In fact, I know my Rebbe Rav Steinberg asked, people would always ask, like, should you spend a lot of money for your kid's tefillin when he's bar mitzvah? So he always said, yes, you should buy yourself a beautiful new pair of tefillin at your kid's bar mitzvah and give the kid the old one. Because it's just going to drop it anyways and bend the corners. But for him, the chiddush is putting on tefillin. And this has to be so exciting. You go to a tzaddik, and the tzaddik helps him put on the tefillin and the kavanas, and you say, L'shem yichud v'kavana. I mean, this is and that newness, the main instruction for the child is that this is what you should do every day. Make it new. You get married, you put a talus on, and you put an atifa over your head. Every atifa should be a chiddush. Because the chiddush of it, chiddush, it takes it from tachas hashemesh to l'mala min hashemesh. So simple yet so profound. It's all new to me. Kriya Shema. Is it? I mean, I could understand that Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. So when you meditate on the Achdus Hashem, you're meditating on the idea that Hashem is midas harachmim, Elokeinu is midas habdin, and somehow or another it all comes together as good. Hashem Elokeinu, I'm talking something. Isn't that something that should be mischadish b'chol yom? Isn't there a new chidush in the coming together of echad? Like the Goyim didn't get it. So there's the God of evil, there's the God of good. Christians like triplicates, the Greeks liked 1,000 of them. But one thing, there's just one thing, there's just one thing, and that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's like, right? This is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you mentioned this before, where does that term come from? The time of the Bayis Sheni, the Chorban Bayis Sheni. It's the first place you ever find the lashon of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Ladati. Like there's so many names for Hashem, but they have to come up with a new one. Like time to be Machadash, a new name for God. What's Hakadosh Baruch Hu? What's the goodness? So the pshat was that living through the times that they lived through in the time of the Chorban, we had seen good times from Shlomo HaMelech, we had seen the Nissen, it was a bad times of Golus, and it became like vital to the furtherance of Judaism to be able to be mitmatzeh b'zeh. Like how do you deal with the fact that things are not good? So Chazal understood at that time that a kadosh means mugbal, separate, kedusha. Separated. Baruch Hu is a lashon of brecha. Baruch atah Hashem. In that sense, the brecha is a mayon. That's what it means when we say Baruch atah Hashem. Something new here. So what we need to do is take Hakadosh Baruch Hu and integrate it into one. So Chazal came up with this lashon of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Quran. The Holy One, blessed be He. It caught on Hakadosh Baruch Hu. It became Rosh Hashanah and everything, right? Baruch Hu. Right? It's an integration of two ideas. It's creating a newness in the oldness. It's integrating. So to be Machadish in Kriya Shema Hashem Elokeinu, that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. If you're not Machadish in it, what did you do? So Rabbi Kiva was Kara Kriya Shema B'Yom Yisasa. I have a Chiddush now. Now I'm being tortured to death by the Romans, Kadosh, and I'm going to have Olam Haba for this Baruch Hu. Kara Kriya Shema. Umarach Be'echad. So like that's the chiddush that he had beyond Misasai. You don't have to like get tortured by Romans to have a chiddush. Every day is could be a chiddush in Kabbalist Malchus Shemayim, which is what that is. Kabbalist Malchus Shemayim. Yerushalmi says in Brachos al pi pasuk, al tavois ki zikna imasachim nizdakna amod v'goydra. The pasuk. Could I look at it for a second? Mishlei. Shlomo Melech says, already marked. Shma la'avicha. It's like pretty simple. Shma la'avicha, listen to your dad. Zeh yiladecha, he gave birth to you. Al tavos ki zakna imecha, and don't mock the oldness of your mother. Pretty clear. Meaning, the emphasis is another thing. Like you see that very often by the non-Torah world, let's say by the Goyim, there isn't a real haracha for old people. It's not especially like once there's there's an appreciation of the depth, of the wisdom, of the accumulation of experience. Okay, you're old. I'm young. I've got it. And keep it up a aim in that framework is a very, very big messiah. Because you're old-fashioned. Like, where is the covet come in?
That's not true at all.
No, it's not true at all. but there's such a Nisayan. But here Shlomo Melech is saying, Shma la'avicha zeh yiladecha. Shma la'avicha zeh yiladecha. So the Radak here says, if I'm not mistaken, zeh yiladecha is the funny. It doesn't say he gave birth to you, as the English says. Zeh yiladecha, that's your yaldus. His zikna is your yaldus. There's like you could be machadesh in that also. It's not just the oldness and the wisdom. There's a constant re-machadesh that goes on in the Torah Zaken. So in other words, it's for us, for B'nai Torah, it's not pushing us. It's not pushing it to have kavod for an old Rosh Yeshiva. We're not just being polite. Like any kind of wisdom we can squeeze out of him. I remember like Rav Shaiber was just having the Zaken that I was close to, but at 100 years old he could hardly talk anymore. He could hardly, but like just standing in line, squeezing another drop of chachma from him. I used to feel like, why are we torturing him? But then his son told me he likes it. But I was just like squeezing him. I can't, falling asleep. No, wake up and tell me. Give me some instruction. Give me some eitzah. Give me some chiddush halacha. And then amazing miracle happened as he started talking. All of a sudden he became 40. The chiddush. So what this is the Reb Tzadok is saying over here, that the let's just summarize it and on, that you have a metzias of everything in this world becoming old, katzba, stagnant, and even putrid. Because ein chadash tachas hashemesh. The reason for that is because everything in the world is a stagnant creation. It has an expiration date. People, milk, everything. On the other hand, yesh chadash tachas hashemesh, which, by the way, the Gemara darshans that zuha neshama. That's the neshama. The neshama is new. So now the trick is to make that which is tachas hashemesh and to tie it up, kosher hashchina im achilase, to tie that which is old into that which is constantly new, and it's lamala min hashemesh. To take, in the words of Reb Tzadok, to take a brecha and turn it into a mayan. That kind of constancy. and doing that by infusing that which is gashmis with something which is ruchnius, it becomes a mayan, and it'll never stop. So when it comes to droish umakabel schar, droish umakabel schar, that there are some things that you can, Torah is such, in the same parsha every single year. It's like so exciting, if I yigash again, no? like it's unbelievable. What are we, crazy? It's like so exciting because you get older and you realize there's even more here than I thought. This is not a Bible story. You understand the insight. You understand the psychological chachma that's there, and it becomes new. Droish umakabel schar. You can learn the same 8 blot in Bava Metzia 1,000 times. There's something new there. You could daven the same Shemona Esrei 1,000 times, and the Shlomo HaMelech says you can have the same parents for 60 years if you're zocheh to such a thing. So I've heard it today, so I'm a little bit into this, but it doesn't get old if you can appreciate it because you're older, and you can appreciate something which is getting old, and you can see there's a chachma there. By the way, by everyone, except for ziknei amoretz, kol zman shemaskinim daton mitapeshes b'hem, become a tipesh. Tipesh means old water, so we don't want to fall there. We don't want to get there for ourselves. We don't want to be that for our children, and we don't want to see our parents that way. We become metupash. So the idea is to keep the lamala min hashemesh always tied into the tachas hashemesh. This was Madregas Hillel. This was Madregas Hillel, something new. Do you know that the Rizal says, I just said this, that when that guy came to him, to Hillel, this whole Hillel's of Shitas, and he said, teach me the whole Torah while I'm standing in 1 foot. So the Arizal in Shara Gilgulim, page 27, you can look there, in Shara Gilgulim in the Eitz Chaim, the Arizal said that he looked at this man and he says, okay, what chiddush are we going to get now? Not you jerk. In other words, there's got to be a chiddush. And the chiddush that he brought out, says the Arizal, is that don't do unto others, that if not for this guy, Hillel would never said that profound thing. Right? Don't do to other people what you don't want him to do to himself. But he was forced by this person to be machadesh, a klal b'chol Torah kula. It was like an exercise. Can I define the whole Torah while I'm standing 1 foot? Well, if this guy didn't ask me, so I would not know the answer to that. So Shammai threw him out of the house, his loss. That chiddush never came to him because everything with him was, as Reb Tzadok says, was mugbal and mugdar, and these two things. This is oil and water. This is not working. Chalk and cheese. But if you could open up yourself to it, says Hillel, and have a whole chiddush shaboy, so now that chiddush is loy lamim. This became the essence of one of the most quoted pieces of Hillel in all of history, the Gadol Hador, because he was open to the chiddush. What he did is he took tachas Hashemesh and tied it into lamala min Hashemesh and put chiddush.
Was this part of the chiddush also in the Hasidic rebbes, that they would come back and they would give the simple people a very deep and very simple idea that they could attach to? As mechadesh, they could create an avoda with that, create a real relationship in something.
You have to think the real examples of taking the everyday things and
Rabbi Nachman's
do it with the niggin.
Right.
Nachman's stories. Do it with a niggin, with a chiddush, with a rikud. We're going to learn that the chiddush of Elkanah says that he was machadish the idea of Aliyas HaRegel. So Chazal say, Medrash, that he wasn't machadish anything. Aliyah HaRegel was there before, Aliyah HaRegel was there after. He was machadish, so when you do it, you should do it with a stride, with a jump in your walk, with a pamei rigolenu nichnas. Let's do it with newness and with excitement. That was the whole.
We said it last